welcome to my next adventure. My name is Jamie. For those of you that don't know me, I'm pretty prone to making rash decisions, and usually I end up pretty okay, but I'm about to do something just completely batshit crazy, and that's why I'd like to video document it. First thing you need to know about me is that I have an absolutely beautiful life. If you can see behind you, that's the Iowa River, that's my backyard. I live in an amazing house with an amazing man, 2 amazing dogs. Everything is perfect, except for the fact that I've been desperately trying to get back into school for the last 15 years. Well, folks, I finally got my chance, but here's the rub. I don't have any money for living. So I'm going to go to law school. I'm literally going to drive across the country to go to University of Oregon Law School and live in a tent. And that's what this video journey is going to be about. There will be some segments where I feature my dog, Audrey. She's going to be also training for a legal career, but in her case, it's going to be as a therapy dog for kids that are stuck in the court system, abuse victims facing their abuser, things like that. So it's going to be a bit of a process, but I first of all wanted to kind of introduce myself, explain what I want to do. I'm going to study environmental law so I can save the world and you know, all that good shit. And I also wanted to kind of explain why I think that I can do this and show you something cool in the meantime. So without further ado, we are going to go meet my tiny house. So this is my tiny house, and I'm sorry about all the destruction around it. I'm in the middle of moving and we've done some renovations, so there's a bit of clutter, but I wanted to show you inside and tell you a little bit about the history of the house, how I built it, and how it makes me 100% confident that my next grand scheme will not leave me completely destitute, terrified, and crashing on people's couches. So as I said, there's been some pretty serious renovations. When I was living here, there was no electricity for the first 3 years. I didn't have insulation for the first 7 months, so I basically just lived in a hammock for 7 months on some guy's hill. Certainly didn't have a refrigerator. This is a cool thing that we just added, is a hot water heater and a water tank, so the new owner will actually be able to turn on water and have it work. This is something that's like super weird because when I moved into the big house that I kind of started filming from, I hadn't had running water in 5 years. So I actually really love doing dishes now. But living in this structure kind of let me know what sort of space I need. Believe it or not, my tent is actually bigger than this. Whoops. So there is actually a whole backstory to Tiny House, and I'll probably go into that at some point, but it's one of those things, it's better if you know me a little bit more, so I'm going to kind of pass over that for the day. As far as design, I actually did design this house myself. It's pretty simple. It's literally just a house-shaped building. But how I ended up building it was I sold everything that I owned. I moved into said guy's field, and I started collecting material. Most of the original structure is actually repurposed material. We've had to do some renovations, like I said, because certain things just weren't holding up. Like these posts here are new because the old ones got bowed. And I didn't have any soffit. I don't know if you know this soffit. So I had a pretty nasty bird infestation, which inadvertently led me to accidentally shooting a pellet gun at an entire park full of children, which is really not a good look. But yeah, so I had a lot of volunteer labor. I worked at a bar at the time, and I had literally 4 guys named Jeff helping me with this at one time or another. And between me and the Jeffs and a bunch of beer and a lot of donated labor on the part of my family and my friends, I managed to get the structure up after about 7 months, like I said, and moved in right as the first snows were starting to fall, which was pretty killer. The one thing that I didn't get done that I kind of regret is I have this cute little wood stove down here. I have named him Kenny Loggins, for he is little and adorable. Unfortunately, Kenny Loggins requires $1,000 worth of chimney pipe, so obviously I couldn't deal with that. Which is too bad, because Kenny Loggins would have heated an entire place, but the cool thing is a space heater actually does the deal. And one of the things that I was worried about initially when contemplating moving to Oregon was trying not to freeze. I don't know if any of you have spent winters in Iowa, but it gets to negative 20 degrees here. Not regularly, but often enough that it caused a certain amount of disruption in my life when I lived here that first year, you know, before I had a space heater or electricity. And there were days that I would wake up in that loft with 7 blankets on me, and I would still be so cold that my body would be curled into a tiny little ball, and I would be numb, and I almost couldn't even uncurl. So when I was thinking about this crazy plan to actually be able to afford law school, I had to really research temperatures, you know, and it turns out that Eugene doesn't get much colder than 35 degrees. And shit, I go camping in 20-degree weather these days, so I'm not super worried about that. The only thing I'm really worried about is Audrey, my idiot dog, because she is a wuss. So we're going to see how she does with it. And yeah, I'll be covering the adventure. That should be the next couple episodes. I'm going to be stopping at a bunch of national parks, and I'd love to show you some scenery. So until then, thanks for watching, and I really hope that you keep watching to see exactly how in trouble I am.